Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets, the second coming of Christ, the loud shout, the sound of a trumpet followed by Christ bursting the skies and coming back. Are you ready? Is it time to get ready? Do you know that the Feast of Trumpets, which is September 9 to 11 this year, is thought by many to be a precursor of the Rapture and a potential date for the return of Christ? Hello, this is Genevieve with Apocalypse How. The Rapture is closer than we know. Right now we're going to be discussing how the Rapture is related to September 9 to 11 this year. 9/11, it's a very important time. What is it? It's Rosh Hashanah, the Feast of Trumpets. It's one of God's dedicated feasts, and that feast is generally believed by Bible scholars and others to be linked to the second coming of Christ and the first event in the second coming of Christ, which would be the rapture or the coming in clouds. And the coming of Christ is supposed to be heralded by the sound of a trumpet, hence the Feast of Trumpets. The Feast of Trumpets is the first of the fall feasts, and this year it happens between September 9 and 11. And therefore, a lot of Christians around the world are going to be looking towards the eastern sky in the hope that this Feast of Trumpets will be the rapture. Of course, the Bible tells us that no man knows the day or the hour when the Son of Man shall appear. So setting a date for the rapture is unbiblical. However, looking at the scriptures and looking at the clues God has given to us, and going from that to understanding that God's times are predetermined and that He has given us prefigures in the Bible, and those prefigures were given for a reason, means that we can tell that this is actually a very likely scenario. September and around this time frame is very important and has been important in world events. There was the famous 9/11 event. There was the crash in 2008, the financial crash. That was 7 years later, also in September. And there were the blood moons in 2014, 2015, September. And something has happened almost every year right around the Feast of Trumpets. So we know that we can, in fact, be prepared and be watchful and praying and be caught prepared should Jesus come at an appointed time such as this. At any rate, it's a good time to have our hearts open to His return, to look at how we're living our lives in preparation for His return, and to stay ready, get ready, and be found prepared. Luke says, to those who love the sign of His appearing are the ones that will be found. If those who are found watching will be the ones who will escape the judgments and will be considered worthy to escape the tribulations coming on the world. That's a beautiful thing to do and to be a beautiful number to be in. So let's just be prepared and take a look at how we're living and be prepared for Rosh Hashanah, for the Feast of Trumpets, and keep looking forward to the return of the King. Date setting is not something we're supposed to do. However, Christ did give us clues throughout the Bible, or the Lord, the Holy Spirit has given us clues throughout the Bible to let us know that the feasts, the Jewish feast days, are related to His advent. The first set of feast days have already gone, and those were related to the first advent. The second, fall feast days, are related to the second advent, or are generally believed to be related to the second advent, the second coming of Christ, and the events leading up to His eternal reign. The first event should be the coming of the Lord in crowds. where the rapture it's generally thought to be, although some think the rapture to be the resurrection of the saints. This well could happen on a feast day, not necessarily this feast day, but the Feast of Trumpets feast day, which happens round about September each year. It's determined by the new moon, is thought to be a likely date given the history of how God has done his thing through the years. And it's good to be prepared, so let's be ready for it. Let's just look out this year, not get our hopes up too much, because the Lord doesn't necessarily tell people his business, and no man knows the day or the hour, but let's just be prepared and look out. Until next time, Maranatha. Goodbye.